Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season premiere of Lethal Weapon. So there's a lot of stuff that needs to be broken down about this. Really quickly, let's kind of get the elephant out of the room. Obviously, we know the grand scheme of the situation. Once again, and I'll bring this up, I don't know everything because I haven't really looked into it. I don't know if I ever will, but basically we just know that Riggs is no longer part of the show, in particular the actor who plays Riggs, Clayton Crawford. I've said this before, but if you don't know, for the longest time, I thought Sean William Scott was replacing him as Riggs. I didn't know he was coming into the show as a brand new character. I ended up finding that out like weeks ago, but like it's something I bring up every once in a while because I just thought it was kind of interesting, like that confusion. But nevertheless, it's a whole thing. When you look at this episode, especially the way season 2's finale played out, you can definitely tell they were setting it up where it's like, oh, is Riz going to live or die? But it was most likely like, no, he's definitely going to live. But with the way things kind of played out on set, whatever the case may be, whatever happened, they kind of had to change things. Because it seems like, because I was curious about the whole like Riggs storyline too, like how are they going to handle that? It seems like they did that with Garrett too, because apparently Garrett killed himself. But that kind of helps, that kind of plays into Roger's story too, because the entire episode he's kind of spiraling. I mean, he has been for like the past 6 months because he thinks there's more to it. He thinks there's some grand conspiracy behind it because it's like, oh no, there's no way Garrett just killed Riggs and then killed himself, because of the fact of the matter is like he's thinking like there's something a lot more to it. But it seems like it was like, no, more so like at the very least, you know, there was enough room open in season 2's finale to make it seem like Garrett did just do it on his own, because it's like, oh, you arrested my dad. I mean, to be fair, we don't 100% know, because Riggs thought the same thing about Miranda's death being like a complete and utter accident, but it turned out there was more to it. Maybe it'll be something that Roger ends up finding out later on, but it does seem for now that's just them kind of tying off Riggs. I'm curious, will his dad pop up in the story now? That's probably another storyline that's probably closed off, but that might be something we see pop back in the storyline. I don't know. But I was curious, like, what they were going to do with that whole Garrett situation. Turns out they tied that up with the whole Riggs thing, because they have no intention, of keeping that storyline around, because it just, I don't know, I think it'd just be harder. It's just kind of like a, hey, we wrapped it up and just kind of move on with the new stories and stuff like that, in particular Cole's situation, which, side note, finding out he was CIA was a surprise, because, like, I've caught stuff here and there, like, example, like, his whole ex-wife situation, Nat, I'm assuming that's short for Natalie, played by the amazing Maggie Lawson. You know, obviously, like, the thing I know her best from is playing Juliet on, Psych, you know? So I wish I didn't know ahead of time that she was going to be on the show. Like, I ended up reading an article or something a little while back and ended up kind of spoiling that for myself, but what can you do? So but still, that's pretty neat. So Cole's whole situation is, it seems like, obviously he worked with the CIA, and like I said, that was kind of a big surprise to me. But he has come back to civilian life to a certain degree. He was like a meter maid, or at least the way he kind of puts it to Nat, it's like, no, meter person, it's 2018. But the fact of the matter is, his last, like, operation, there was a kid there that ended up dying, got mixed up in it. It was kind of someone he became friends with. And that's what kind of set him off to kind of be where he is right now, come back home, because for him, it's about being near his daughter, Maya, because it seems, the way the conversation kind of goes about, it seems like he wasn't there a good chunk of her life, so he's trying to make up for that. And so him and Roger kind of end up coinciding on the case and everything, because Roger's looking into the Riggs situation, what leads him down this pathway to cross with Cole, who just happened to stumble across some illegal stuff happening. You see some people with some guns. He just jumps in the back of their car. They're like, "Well, no, we ain't doing nothing illegal." And it's like, "Oh, what's all this then?" So there's that. Then there's the whole them stealing the truck, and he's just kind of like, he's like, "Oh, Roger's like, I didn't want to pull this car, but I'm Roger Merton." He's like, "Yeah, I'm Wes Cole." He's like, "Oh, you don't know who I am?" It's like, yeah, you're a big deal, Raj, but like I love your inflated ego of making yourself seem even bigger than what you are. It's like, okay, we get close to the car, and then we'll get, someone jump to it. It's like, okay, and they both climb on top. It's like, what are you doing? No, I will talk about me jumping in the car. And Wes is like, really, dude? You're like 80. So that ended up playing out the way it did. We have Michelle Hurd's character coming back. I'm blanking her character's name. She's stepping in while Avery is away. Because I was like, oh, so does it mean we're not going to get any Avery at all this season? We see him kind of running for city council. I forgot, because like that came up last season. Is he running for Senate or something, isn't he? Wasn't that the whole? Wasn't he running for a senator position and stuff like that? For some reason, I was thinking he was running for mayor. Maybe he wasn't. I don't know. I forgot what the position he was running for. But like we see him and I'm like, ah! Him and Trish are talking. And I love that Roger's go-to thing is when he's talking to either Avery or Bailey, he's pretending to be someone else. Like when it comes to Avery, he's like, oh, Mr. Mayor. He's like, yeah, Mr. Mayor. And then Trish is like, yeah, just tell Mr. Mayor that he better get his butt home at a certain time. And it's like, ooh, she knows. Trish is too smart for that. And then later on when he's pretending to be the chief of police talking to Bailey. So it's just little stuff like that I really like. But I think they do a very good job of how they handle this whole situation, especially because it's a line that Trish says that I thought was kind of so fascinating, where she was basically like, you helped pick Riggs up and kind of got him in a place where he can move on with his life because of what you did. And it's like, it's time for you to kind of do the same for yourself and move on, because he kind of falls in a spiral because he ends up getting the videotape from Garrett saying like, no, I did it. He's like, I know what I did caused a lot of harm to a lot of people and hurt some people. Like I said, it's kind of just closing that storyline, but for him to be like, maybe it gives some solace to somebody. It's not like it makes it better. So, but like I said, it's just kind of like making it like, no, like, because it's just meant to be the fact is you have Roger kind of spiraling out of control like that. I still think that is something we might still be dealing with over the course of the season. Maybe it won't be a big plot point, but I think, the fact of losing a partner like that, is something that is going to fall on him, because he doesn't want to forget Riggs. And even Cole says it later on of like, I'm not trying to replace him. Because for him, this is all about trying to be there for his daughter and, be in her life again. What that means for him and Nat necessarily, we don't know yet, but in particular, he wants to be there for his daughter. For him, it seems like he has a tendency of kind of bringing a little chaos around himself. That's kind of like the running theme. Sad thing is, it ended up with Riggs' truck being blown up, so it's kind of like, when you think about it, it's kind of super messed up to think about this, but like when you think about the meta of all that, it is kind of like saying goodbye to everything associated with Riggs. So it's just kind of, I don't know, extra sad on that department, on that front. So, but yeah, I mean, he didn't even talk about the main parts of the episode. Basically, it's like I love that whole thing when Cole was kind of like, oh yeah, I heard, yeah, they're Chechen. He's like, I was thinking maybe it was kind of Georgian, but then all that, then I heard all the, I was like, okay. That he was talking about, that's how he was able to recognize it, what it was. And, this ends up being kind of like, I actually don't remember what it was exactly they were trying to do. They were trying to like, cause an explosion so they could get inside of somewhere. It was essentially a heist because they got blueprints to a place or something. I don't remember what they were after exactly, but I love the circumstances, like when they're like, Avery sees them and he sees Roger. He's like, no. He's like, Avery, you got to get these people out of here calmly and coolly. And then Cole's like, okay, guys, so there's like a 60% chance there's a bomb down here. And Avery's like, whoop. So like I said, I do hope we get to see more of Avery, especially in his powerful position. He can do a lot more for Roger and stuff like that. Or, because initially Roger was supposed to be set up to be captain and stuff like that. But I think after everything that went down with Riggs, that's probably just not where he wants to be right now anyway. So I'm curious to see who the new captain will be. Michelle Hurd's character will probably be playing that role for a while now, but we'll see. Because she was not in as much as season 2 as I thought she was going to be. I thought, especially with her and Roger having their connection, I thought that was going to play a bigger role. Turned out not to be the case because she didn't pop up that much last season. So I don't know. We'll see how they handle it this season. But obviously, like the people you see this situation hit the most is Roger and Cahill, because in all honesty, they're the two people that spent the most time with Riggs. It's hard for both of them because it's like, they had that little toast at the end and it just, shut up and hand this, pass this spray cheese, and because they're talking that little head of Riggs, and just, it's crazy, it's sad because it's just kind of like the randomness of it all. It's just kind of like, because even Roger said himself, it's just like, yeah, he was just killed by some angry kid. There's no grand purpose to it. It's just kind of like a tragedy, just a shitty situation, but it's interesting too when it comes to Cole, because Cole is CIA, he is like formally trained, so that's something we can expect going forward too. It's a different type of crazy than what we had with Riggs, because Riggs was just kind of crazy all on his own, but it seemed with Cole, it's kind of like not necessarily. He's kind of interesting in his approach. He's not. He's like the complete opposite to Riggs, because Riggs is kind of like the wild cowboy. So it turns out he's not that. He's kind of, well, it kind of fits his character because he's the trained soldier. So it's like for him, it's like, oh no, because Roger's like, oh, hand me your gun. He's like, no, like guns have to be your last resort. Plus, I don't even know if you're really a cop or not. So there's that. Plus, just the way he answers, the way he responds to people. So it's interesting. I'm really excited to see Sean William Scott play into this role, because I can't tell you when the last time I saw him in something. I mean, to be fair, I don't watch a lot of movies anyway. So, but I'm very glad to see him in this role, because I think he can do an amazing job with this. Because I think action comedy is something he can do very well. Like one of his earliest movies, not earliest, but an early movie is the Rundown with The Rock. That's a very action comedy movie. He had his actiony bits in it. Obviously, like The Rock is kind of like the more like actiony person in the movie, but nevertheless. So, but I think he kind of showed, what was it? Somebody said months and months ago, like Stifler steps up, in under these circumstances. But I think he's going to do a very nice job, because I think they did a very nice job setting up this relationship. I am curious to see what that will mean going forward, because obviously Roger had to deal with Riggs for such a long time, so a little bit of that crazy is kind of rubbed off. You can kind of tell, even just in the way he acted in this episode. Granted, that was him kind of in grief and stuff like that, but in comparison to Cole, which Cole's kind of a little crazy too. It's just like, oh my God, Cole, you're on fire. He's like, what? Nah, dude, we were both on fire. We both did agree. He's just like, no, you literally on fire. Oh man, that's crazy. He's like, I should have really retired. I love the whole thing on the train too. That was so good. He's just like, tell my daughter that I stuck around. And Roger's like, okay, I thought he was going to argue more. Turns out not the case. I was like, oh, okay. Because that would usually be an argument between you and Riggs, but he's about to leave, the doors closed, and he comes back up. And Cole's like, what are you doing here? He's like, I couldn't let you do this by yourself. And he's like, the doors closed, didn't he? He's like, yeah. Well, I guess we're both going to die now, aren't we? I'm just like, I love that situation playing out the way it did. That was so good. So I am very interested to see where they go from here. There was no Bowman, so I don't know where that stands. I mean, I'm assuming he's coming back this season, but I don't know. I love that it was Nat that was taking care of Cole, but it was Scorsese that was helping out Roger with his situation after the place blew up. So seems like, no matter what it is, it doesn't seem like, because I love that Roger calls like Cole out for his chaos, but it's like, come on, dude, chaos has a way of following you around too. Don't act like you and Riggs didn't tear up the city in your time. And so it's kind of like chaos meets chaos, but like I said, sometimes there's a need for chaos. So we'll see what this all turns out to be, going forward. Like, obviously, this is just kind of like a setup episode for the rest of the, closing out the Riggs chapter and just kind of opening up the Wesley Cole chapter and just kind of, building this new partnership, So I'm very excited to see where all this takes us going forward. Like I said, and I will admit, it is kind of a bit of a weird, awkward situation just because of the whole Riggs thing, but at the same time, I am very excited to see what kind of stuff Cole and Murtaugh get into this season. Because I'm very interested to also see, some recurring characters we've gotten very familiar with kind of popping up this season as well. Like I said, I don't really look into these seasons ahead of time, so I don't know if there's going to be a lot of characters like Leo Getz, for example. That's definitely a character I'm hoping we get this season, because I just love Leo every time he shows up. Him and Roger, and I'm definitely interested to see how he interacts with Cole, how everyone interacts. Because no one really had any scenes with him other than Roger, which is interesting. We actually break that down to think about, because Michelle Hurd's character did, but no Bailey or Scorsese or potential Bowman. A little bit with Avery, but none of the Murtaughs, RJ, Rihanna, or Trish interacted with him. So I'm interested to see that kind of play out, and also there's a whole element of the whole Nat and Maya situation. That's definitely going to be an interesting development too. Roger's already kind of balancing his life, and I think that's going to be an interesting thing too going forward too, because he can get obviously there's that senior officer and rookie, officer situation, because it's kind of a relatively new job for Cole, because he was like, yeah, he was working the meter situation for like maybe a week or a couple of days. So Roger's got, a couple more years on him in this situation, but it's also because Roger's kind of done the whole family thing, still doing it and working with it. It kind of works fine. Has its issues here and there, but he's still kind of got his own flow to it. So I think that's something that, he can kind of like Cole can kind of learn from Murtaugh about. So like that might be a development we see. Like I said, I'm very interested to see what the rest of this season as well as the next episode has in store for us when it comes to this season. So that was very redundant of me to say that. Nevertheless, really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. To the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.